wouldn't be prudent at this
All right,
Wouldn't be
folks,
smart.
we are live. Welcome back to another Pangburn Hangout on our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Today, the question is, what the hell is Trump doing? And we have Don with us, one of our newest admins, who's going to be leading this discussion on the Trump update, the Trump date. I don't know. There's some kind of combination of words there that would probably work in some world. Don, how are you?
I'm doing great tonight. How's everybody doing?
Great. I'm ready to listen and be updated on what bad orange man has been up to.
Well, lately he's been making a lot of statements, wanting to claim different territories for the United States of America. Recently, he's discussed renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Says it has a beautiful ring to it. And then a few weeks ago, there was the whole thing about Canada becoming the 51st state. And there's also taking over the Panama Canal for some reason that I can't figure out. And these are, frankly, if you take them at face value, they're very, very frightening things to think about. And that's what I'd like to explore tonight here with everybody and everybody joining us on YouTube. I want to say thank you for that. Drop a like if you will. Consider subscribing. But yeah, there are a lot of things to consider when we're thinking about this. And I have a few points that I've come up with. And I'd like to go over those and then just kind of open it up to a room. One thing that I think is very dangerous about this is when we start looking at taking over things that belong to other countries. For example, the Panama Canal belongs to Panama and has for a good number of years now via treaty with the United States. We were in charge of it for a long time. And then after a certain year, we turned it back over to them. And that was in exchange for helping build it. So it was fair. It was agreed upon by all parties involved and has been working well for the United States, except for its lack of capacity with the building of bigger ships. So when you start doing that, you open yourself up to create a global situation, which would in turn require military involvement from other global powers. It could also invite cyber attacks on the infrastructure here in the United States, which is going to affect a good multitude of people. I don't know anyone who doesn't do a lot of their banking just from their phone or their tablet at home or their home PC. We're going to get economic fallout. There's going to be tariffs. There's going to be prices raised. There's going to be shipping blocked, which is going to result in higher prices for every American. And I don't know about you, but my wallet is stretched thin enough. I really don't need Trump adding to the problem. It's going to deepen domestic divisions. We're a very divided country as it stands right now. It's hard to look at another American without wondering, is this the type of person who would like to see the type of person that I am not be allowed inside this country? And it's going to just deepen that when we start trying to take things that obviously belong to other people. It could possibly reinstitute the military draft. I know some people will say that hasn't happened since Vietnam, but I'd like to say Vietnam is in living memory, so it's not something we can discount. Besides the humanitarian crisis, global isolation, and institutional collapse, these are all very dangerous things to the American people, whereas the people who would institute these policies wouldn't be hurt by them at all. And with that, I'd like to open it up to you guys. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the matter and see if you have any questions that maybe I or one of the other great people in the room can answer. And what do you guys think about all this?
Well, I'll start you off just to help out. I'd like to go over the idea of sovereignty and annexation in general, like understanding what sovereignty is and understanding about why countries would want to annex. So it's kind of like a meta thing, why countries would want to annex another country. It could be for many, many different reasons, right?
Yep.
Everything from oil to like heritage, things like Ukraine and shit. So I'd like to understand that and talk about that a bit, but I don't really know where to go because I'm not, I'm not super trained in politics. I don't know too much about it, but yeah, that's a conversation I'd like to have, and I'd also like to have a conversation about tariffs, how that's directly going to affect all of our lives by basically raising the price of everything. I mean, everything affects everything now that the economies are so intertwined. So tariffs on American households are going to affect the entire world's economy. It's going to, is this right, Don? I think some economists have been questioned about Trump's tariff policies and his tax policies, and it would raise the deficit and the overall debt up quite a bit. Is that not right?
That's absolutely correct. A lot of people don't understand completely how tariffs work. They think that if we put a tariff on steel from China, that China pays that tariff, and that's not true. The person paying that tariff is the person importing that steel from China. So if you're buying steel from China at, I don't know, let's give easy figures to work with, let's say $10 a ton, which is ridiculously cheap.
Yeah.
And then you put a 2,000% tariff on there, which is the highest number I have heard come from Trump's mouth. That would make it $20,000 a ton for the steel for the man importing it from China, whereas China will have already been paid their asking price for the steel. So the American companies would be the ones that would pay for the tariffs, and they're not going to just pocket that loss. We've seen time and time again, anything that costs an American corporation, especially a large one that deals in a lot of commodities, they pass that cost directly to the consumer so that they can keep their bonuses, so that they can keep paying out dividends to their stockholders, as it's now written into law that they have to do. They have a fiduciary responsibility backed up by law to be conservative with their money so that they can pay profits to stockholders. Board members can actually be sentenced to prison for absorbing costs that could be passed on to consumers. It's a really terrible way of doing business, if you ask me. And when it comes to the first point, if you could remind me again, what was your first point?
Oh, just talking about the ideas of like sovereignty and annexation by nations in general. It's a cool meta topic to talk about because, why would any nation think that it can annex another one? You know what I mean? It's an interesting thing. I don't know how to delineate that into something more specific without me being able to use specific examples, which I don't know about. I'm not well trained enough in this area. But we have a new guy in the room with us, I think. Keith, did you have something to say? I thought I heard you pipe up. I didn't want to put you on the spot or anything. I thought you were going to say something.
Oh no, not me. I'm sorry. Let me mute myself.
You're fine. You're fine. Welcome to the room, by the way. Well, I'm gonna force people to talk. Are you here, Alex?
I am here.
All right. So let me ask you a question. Why would it be okay for any country in the world to annex another one?
Like a forceful annex of a sovereign country?
Whether like economically forced or through military means like Ukraine or whatever. Like how could that ever be justified for one nation?
I can't think of a way that could be justified. I'm open to the possibility. Oh.
Yeah. I hear the little one in the background. So you're open to the possibility, yeah.
It seems like we could draw a direct correlation and bring it down to a personal level. If your neighbor decided to build a fence, but they didn't want it to be so close to their house that they decided they're just going to take a 10-foot strip down the side of your property, and then inside that 10-foot strip somewhere, they build their fence. And then all of a sudden you get to start treating your neighbor's property inside that fence line as theirs. That is yours. That is an annexation. It's not a legal one. And I don't think any forced annexation can happen without war crimes happening as well as a direct result of it.
Yeah.
So I would look at a forced annexation to be directly akin to theft, but on a much, much larger scale.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a good meta-analysis. Does anyone else have anything to say about specifically countries annexing other countries? Maybe about Chinese and Chinese, what they call Chinese Taipei, which is what, Taiwan. What about that relationship, or what about the Ukraine relationship? Or I'm sure there are other countries around the world that are looking to annex. I don't know how many. There's like 200 countries in the world, so I don't know all this stuff. This is me speaking ignorantly, so I'm kind of asking rhetorically about it as well for myself.
If it were a situation where like somebody were to come in and try to annex land that had previously already belonged to them, if a people went in there, took that land forcefully, and then they were essentially stealing back what was stolen, maybe, but like I feel like there would be a time stamp on that of like, only of like so many years, like, oh no, the people that it was stolen from are still alive today.
Yeah. Okay. We've got Lawrence here with us. Welcome, Lawrence. CJ, I'm going to force you to speak up. What do you think about?
Lawrence raised his hand.
I'm sorry. Nivek,
Lawrence
what did
raised
you say?
his hand.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to him in just a second. I wanted to hear CJ's take on annexation.
Yeah. It's just completely un-American. I mean, anybody that is suggesting this doesn't understand like the founding principles of the United States. I think westward expansion was probably like close to against the spirit of the founding of America, and actually annexing countries like we've done multiple times to other countries in the past. It's not a good thing. There's a reason we gave back the vast majority of territories we seized from other people, and we still hold on to a lot of territory around the world, but largely we're giving it up. And I can't think of any countries, like proper countries or Western nations, that we have annexed and like just said, oh no, you're part of us now. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I agree. Lawrence, what did you have to add, bud? Can anybody hear Lawrence?
I can't hear Lawrence.
Can't hear you.
Y'all could.
Looks
No,
like
yeah, you might have to check your input, bud.
sorry about that. We're here with you. We're not going anywhere, but we're going to jump around the room. Chase, welcome. I saw you just jump in. How you doing, bud?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Always to be here. Let me ask one more person, I think, who has a good idea. Nivik, what do you think about the ideas of one country being able or saying that they want to annex another country?
No, I'm not for it.
You're not for it. Okay, that's a good answer. So we pretty much covered that one. What do you want to go on about why Trump thinks he can take Canada? Canada?
There's an old idea called manifest destiny. We got you now, Lawrence. I could hear you just then.
Oh, you're deafened now. Okay.
That should work. I'll wait until you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, sir. There's an old idea that I remember learning about back in grade school that was called manifest destiny, where some members of the American population in the early colony times thought that the entirety of North America should become a part of the United States. Now, since obviously that didn't turn out that way, as we have a country directly to our south, Mexico, and one directly to our north, actually dividing us from a state, Canada. They're both doing very well. They both have had their own responses to Trump's what do you call them? I want to think of something nice, but I can't. So I'll just say bloviations. There we go. To Trump's bloviations. The Mexican president recently held a press conference where she showed a photograph of a map from 1670 where that treaty was signed, and a large portion of the southern and southwestern United States was called Mexican America. And that's when Washington and Oregon belonged to a different country as well. Russia had Alaska. And so that was, in my views, a really pointed response to Trump's bloviations. And Justin Trudeau from Canada and their new incoming prime minister, whose name escapes me, also very well backed up that Canada is doing just fine and has no intentions of becoming a 51st state. With that, Lawrence, I'd really like to hear what you've got to say.
America shall be taken over in three ways. One spiritually, one financially, and one by military force. The spiritual way America shall be overtaken is through sin. A person's soul becomes ashes. Those ashes are the kingdom of Gog and Magog. Those ashes are the desolation, their death. So that's the spiritual way America gets taken over into the kingdom of Gog and Magog. By sinning, it turns the soul into ashes that aren't forgiven. The second way, the financial way, is 32,523 Muslim oil bank dollars put in the computer bank accounts of Americans. That is how the devil will overtake the world's economy. To get that money, Americans will take the mark of the beast. To get that $32,523, that money is not free. You cannot take your barcode brand and go to a bank and say, give me cash, and put the cash in your pocket. You can't do that. You can't give money to your family or friends out of that. You can't tithe that money, and every penny you spend will be monitored by Islam computer banks. They will know everything you spend it on. It won't be free money. Most Americans are going to take that money. That's how America will be annexed financially. And then third, physically, China, from 32 nuclear submarines off of the Pacific coast, shall nuclear bomb on one day's time all 50 U.S. capitals. The subs, California, America, they launch missiles against the capital cities. Wherever your state capital is, they are going to destroy it with bombs and overthrow the United States government that way, and then begin a physical military attack, assault, and begin relocating Americans and slaughtering children and feeding the children's meat back to Americans who took the mark of the beast, the Omnibar. Those are the three ways America is going to be overcome. Spiritually, they become the kingdom of Magog and Magog by sin that is not forgiven by Jesus, ashes in their soul. Financially, with the Omnibar money that Trump will force upon America. He will force a law that says if you're not branded with a barcode, you can't walk into a food store to buy food. Police will be at the doors of the grocery stores. And if you are not branded with the Omnibar mark, they won't let you go in to buy food, even if you're starving. And they will have handheld lasers there ready to give you your personal ID and 666 in each of the barcodes. That's how you'll be overtaken financially. And then physically, China is going to overthrow the United States government through 32 then 31 submarines that will bomb all of the state capitals.
We got you from I think we got you from a second.
I don't get the financial though.
Hang on one
Like,
second,
why
Nivik.
would you be affected financially of going into
Real
a
quick,
store?
Nivik, please, Nivik, one
Okay,
second.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know you can't just jump in hardcore like that. One second.
From
May I ask a quick question, Lawrence? I appreciate you sharing your opinions, but how do you know this stuff about the police standing at the door and all that kind of stuff? How would you know that?
Jesus showed this every bit of what I say to you in visions and dreams.
Okay, Nivik.
Jesus gave 144,000 children prophecy. One of those prophecies is Yavol. I'm given the gift to interpret by Jesus, and the interpretation of Yavol is the enforcers of the omnibar, the enforcers of the mark of the beast. You're not going to be allowed, and in the Bible it is, if you will be marked, and it will be made, if you can't buy or sell anything if you're not marked, it will be law over you.
We got you. Let's let Nivik jump in real quick because he has a question for you.
No, I was asking how would they? But I didn't get the financial part. And people not being able to go into a store to buy food. If they're going in to buy food, would they have money? I get the bar part. Like they'll be stopped because they don't have the bar. How would they be affected financially?
When a person becomes an antichrist, and that's it for them, they take the mark. A handheld laser burns a barcode into the right hand, wrist, or forehead. That barcode has two numbers in the bars. One number is your personal ID, like your state ID. The other number is, in every one of them, it is 666. When you go to the checkout and scan your wrist on the little scanner as you're buying things, your account will come up on screen that says you have $32,523 to spend. That is all Islam oil bank money. It is not America gold standard treasury money. It is from Islam. All that money.
Oh, I get you.
That's
so
how
the bar will make you know that the bar will the idea of as an antichrist. So you won't get served, right? Like if you're going to the store, they read the barcode. The barcodes, the display is going to say antichrist, so you don't get food.
If you aren't marked with the omnibar, you will not be allowed to go into a store to buy anything.
I real quick, guys, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but let's try to get back on topic about annexation and everything. I appreciate everyone sharing their opinions.
This is good stuff.
I appreciate the sharing of opinions, but as Travis likes to say, let's get back on topic. So, Candyman, Don, excuse me, did you have something else you wanted to cover on tariffs or anything, or did you want to continue on that route, or what?
Well, like I said, the tariffs are pretty much they're passed to consumers, and most of the consumer market doesn't seem to understand that. They seem to think that tariffs are paid by the country they're levied on. And the way it actually works is a tariff is a special sort of tax or dividend, if you will, that the president by executive order can place. And the idea was to protect American-made goods from cheaper foreign-made goods, underselling them. If anybody in here or listening is old like me, we can remember when we had Magnavox televisions that were made here in America with American parts and American labor and American shipping. And if everybody looks at the back of their televisions today, you're going to see made in China, made in Taiwan, made in Japan, made in Korea, because all of those manufacturing jobs were shipped overseas during preceding Republican administrations. Since then, the tariffs have helped us to try to retain some of those, like we do put together some cars here, but we don't manufacture them. We assemble them. We put together washing machines here. I happen to live in Michigan, and Whirlpool is headquartered near my hometown, but their factory isn't here, just their headquarters. The suits work in Michigan, the people who assemble the washing machines are in Korea and Taiwan and China. And so if you were to levy a tariff on washing machines that are imported, that is an American-made product. And all of a sudden, the prices are going to go up by however many percentage points that tariff is. So if you levy a 10% tariff on an item that costs $200, that means it costs $220 to the person importing it, not to the person buying it, because that will get marked up, and that will get marked up again through other middlemen. And when it finally reaches the consumer, you're going to see price increases of 100 to 200%. If you think $4 eggs are expensive now, wait until we can't import them from countries that border us, where they can still get here fresh, and you're paying $17 a dozen. And that, I predict, is a possibility under the next administration.
Yeah.
Thomas, can I say anything real quick?
Don's in control of the room tonight, so I'm just kind of helping him. But Don, did you want to ask people around the room about tariffs, or did you have something else you wanted to go on? Okay.
Does anyone else have a different understanding of how it works, or maybe have learned something new tonight and would like to share that?
Anybody can jump in.
Hey, I have something I'd like to say.
Okay.
Oh, please go ahead.
All right. I got to pull it up real quick. I was looking it up earlier, and they were talking about the annexation of Canada. And I looked back at some older information that Trump had told the UN General Assembly in 2018 that said, here in the Western Hemisphere, we are committed to maintaining our independence from the encroachment of expansionist foreign powers. Isn't that what Trump is trying to do, since Canada just won't give up to the United States?
It does seem like an expansionist policy to try to take over a foreign country. If I'm wrong about
The
that.
old expansion for me, but not for thee.
Yes.
Thomas,
What's up, Nick?
Trump's a lunatic. He's going to give over the United States his authority to Satan.
One sec, Lawrence. I'm gonna come right to you, but Nivik, go ahead and finish.
That's where I thought Lawrence was going, and in the points that he was making, that the things that are happening are through outside influences, is expansionism, and I wanted to ask him if, like, does he think like a world, like a big war would break out possibly, or is he for crusade? Does he believe like there should be a crusade of other countries and annexing them?
The first thing Trump's going to do warlike is, after a nuclear bomb explodes in Chicago, the U.S. military will be ordered to bomb Moscow, to destroy Moscow with nuclear bombs. The same day a nuclear bomb goes off in Chicago and melts one of the two twin towers next to the Chicago River and sends poisoned radiation through the city, that day, USA will launch against Moscow and destroy it. As those bombs are going over there, Russia's going to say, we didn't have anything to do with this. You're attacking us for no reason whatsoever. And they are going to destroy Washington, D.C., New York City, and where I happen to be living in Huntington, West Virginia. They'll probably, I don't know this, but I'm thinking that they're also going to bomb Atlanta, Georgia. Those will be the first four cities that Russia will destroy in America with nuclear hypersonic missiles. And there's not going to be any more Pentagon, no more White House, no more Supreme Court, no more Treasury, no more congressional building. That city is going to be destroyed. The first day of the 7 years of hell. When that city is destroyed, the economic damage to America will be great. Not so great we couldn't get over it, but Trump is going to go meet with 9 other world leaders. The 10 leaders are going to meet to find a fix to this damaged economy. Now, there's something that happened to all of us, me included. I'm just simply willing to confess it. A voice spoke in my head. It was loud, and I felt paralyzed. And the voice said, I will turn and toss you violently like a ball. And that voice was Satan.
Okay.
And it was on October 10th.
Let's slow down a little bit because we're getting far away from the topic now.
We kind of are. I'd like
is convince Arab oil banks to release money. He's going to trick them into thinking he's God. He's going to be in that meeting with those 10 world leaders secretly. And what he did to my head that night, he's going to do permanently to those 10 world leaders. He's going
to bring this back to tariffs?
We hear you. Let's let CJ get in.
So back to tariffs, I think one thing that we should keep in mind is, as far as I know, and someone feel free to fact check me on this, originally the taxes in the United States, before we had income tax and stuff like this, was largely tariffs, or at least to a good extent. Now, I'm not necessarily against tariffs if this is balanced out with removing other taxes. Unfortunately, as much as Trump says that he's in favor of taking, away all these taxes, I don't necessarily believe politicians when they say, hey, I'm going to raise this tax here and lower this tax here. A lot of the times they just raise this tax and don't lower the other one. But also, one thing we need to look at with tariffs is we work under a different economy now than we did when we were running largely under tariffs. So we can't just hope and pray that tariffs are going to be actually this really good thing for us, because then we're kind of relying on other economies buying into America in order to generate our revenue. And there are better ways to actually fix this issue that we have with domestic manufacture than increasing import tariffs. I think that's the actual interesting conversation here. Tariffs can do something, but is it the best solution? Is it the only solution? No.
That's a good point. Let's go around the room. We'll start with Nivik, and then I'd like to hear from some people who haven't spoken yet, like Scott and Chase and our buddy Perry, maybe our buddy Mario. Let's try to have some good conversation. Go ahead.
I thought the main topic.
Before we do that, I'm sorry, Nivik, just a second. Before we do that, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who joined here in the room on Discord. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who's watching on YouTube. Please drop a like, consider subscribing to the Pangburn Universe. And so thanks for that. And go ahead, Nivik.
Yeah, I thought the main topic of the convo was about annexation and the justification of it.
It is. That's one of the points, but we're also talking about tariffs and a few other things that Don wanted to bring up.
So we pretty much concluded on annexation?
Well, we concluded that it's not a good idea for one country to annex any other country, pretty much under no circumstances. Would you say that's the case, Don, or is that
I don't think everybody agreed on that.
I'm asking Don because he's in control of the room.
Okay. It seemed like most of us, I thought, had agreed that it's akin to direct theft. But Nivik, if you have a different point of view, I'd love to hear it.
I wasn't getting that side from Lawrence and 040584. I think they have a justification of a justified view of annexing other countries.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to hear. Does someone have a justified view for annexation? Does anyone just speak right up?
Yeah, I'm gonna force Scott to interact. Scott, do you have an idea about annexation and the idea of it?
I didn't say Scott.
He's probably eating. Let's go to. We got to go around the room, Nivik. We got to go around the room. Chase, do you have anything to say about tariffs?
I'm just listening for the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to go around the room. We're doing that. What about Mario? Anything to add about tariffs or annexation? Nope. All right. Everybody's being quiet on us. Okay.
Sorry, I'm here. I need to look into the one with China because we get so much. We're so reliant on them for so much shit that I can't. I don't know how much it's going to backfire. Like I don't know if he's just using it as a bluff or if he's actually going to follow through with it.
Well, and it's not a one-sided thing either. We raise tariffs on Chinese imports. Chinese raise tariffs on American imports. And then all the countries that are allied with China raise tariffs, and all the countries that are allied with the U.S. will raise tariffs. And it ends up costing the world economy trillions.
Yeah. It's going to cost every nation in some way because we are the main economy of the world. Everything goes through us, the petrol dollar, all that shit.
Lawrence, do you believe God justifies annexation of other countries by the U.S.?
It's a good question.
I'm not sure Lawrence knew you
Lawrence,
were
are you
addressing
okay? What's going on? He's talking. I see him talking. Okay, can anybody read it?
You muted, Lawrence.
Do you remember those big white balloons that people caught? That they finally let one fly over the whole country, and then some military guys blew it up. The big balloons.
The weather balloons.
No.
That's what people said they were. Yeah.
Those were Chinese military balloons targeting and mapping for the attack.
What's your view of manifest destiny? Do you believe it's God's will to annex other countries through the military force of the U.S.?
For fear of giving you a wrong answer, I'm not to disrespect you, I don't want to give you a wrong answer. I don't want to mislead you. So I'm not going to answer that question for fear it would just be my comment, me trying to act smart like I know everything and I don't. So I would rather not answer that because I just don't know how to answer that question.
That's honest. I like that. It's very honest. Nivi,
Plead the
did you want to continue? Yeah, did you want to continue, Nivi?
I'll plead stupidity. Thanks.
Go ahead, Niv. Anything you wanted to add?
No, that's all I wanted to ask him. I was also asking 04058 for that question too.
Okay.
If you believe the U.S. has a right to annex other countries.
Does anyone in the room believe that?
I guess he's not there, so that's it.
Oh, yeah. He probably doesn't understand who you're talking to. He's referring to you, Billy the Kid.
Bullshit.
Now maybe he's not there after all. Oh, there he goes.
Sorry, some things I had to get taken care of. Can you repeat the question, please?
I was asked, what's your view of manifest destiny? And you believe that through the will of God, the U.S. is justified in annexing other countries?
I'll have to plead the fifth on that one.
I'm going to take that as a yes to both of you. Okay, let's move on.
What was your next topic? What was your next topic, Don?
Well, I just wanted to read one more little factoid on forced annexation, especially when it comes to Greenland. Now, Greenland is a NATO-protected territory, and that would trigger Article 5 of the NATO agreement requiring member nations such as the UK, Germany, and France to defend it. This could lead to direct military conflict with the U.S. and escalate to a possible global war. I understand that Greenland is full of natural resources, especially things that we're going to be looking for to make battery technology better, to make electric vehicles better, so on and so forth. Does anyone have any justification why we should trigger a possible World War III in the pursuit of what is eventually going to end up being riches in the top 100 people in the world's pockets?
It is highly probable that behind the curtains, China and Russia have made a pact where China gets the United States and Russia gets Europe.
Well, that is possible. It is very possible. We don't know what's going on between the, I hate to call them leaders, but dictators of those countries. I don't believe either country treats their people very well, and I definitely wouldn't like to see them in charge of mine. But
Look at the U.S.
America will be one of the first countries to fall.
Yeah, I'm asking how.
China's going to wipe out all 50 state capitals. You won't have any more state government. You're not going to have any more government checks coming from Washington, D.C. in SSI checks or wages to the military. That gets wiped out. The day that nuke goes off in Chicago, and I've seen it. I told the FBI, the police, the press, they'd say, you're crazy. Are you on your meds? I saw it, and I met the 4 guys that built it.
Sounds like Yellow Peril.
Catch 22.
Chinese are coming. The Chinese are coming.
They are. They're going to overthrow
your lives.
After that nuke in Chicago, D.C., New York, Atlanta, Huntington, Moscow getting destroyed.
You said just a real quick question. You said you've seen the nuke go off in Chicago. What do you mean by that?
I saw it's in a green Volvo. A green Volvo station wagon. I met the 4 engineers that built it.
Okay.
It sounds like you bring up justification for the U.S. to attack China.
I didn't see it in a dream.
If China's going to take over us, then we have to find China first, right?
I didn't.
That sounds like what you're saying, right? That is what you're saying, isn't it?
I think we're getting quite off topic here, Nick.
Trump's a childish, arrogant fool, and he's going to be a great part in this country falling.
No, I'm asking him a question.
In the destruction of the United States of America.
I'm saying if China is going to take over the U.S., then it makes sense for us to hit China before it hits us.
They'll see that America is weakened, and that's when they'll bomb.
So how do you prevent that? You strike first, right?
You can. It's set. It's gonna happen. It's set.
I know what time?
Well, I'm asking you how to prevent it.
China is the Leviathan. The dragon of the sea is the subs. The serpent that pierceth is the nuclear bombs. The bomb in Chicago is that mystery of the wheel in the middle of the wheel, the color of beryl. Beryl is green. That's what that car is. That's what that car bomb is that wheel in the middle of the wheel. Those 4 guys I met in the flesh, they are angels of Jesus put on the earth in the flesh.
That's what Yellow Peril was, fear of Chinese expansion and having to strike China because of that.
That bomb is the judgment of Jesus Christ against you all for saying, oh, he didn't appear to me. He never said television. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you on your meds? Oh, you're waiting for the coming of Jesus Christ, the false ministers say. He came and everyone knows it, and no one will, you're too embarrassed or ashamed or rebellious to say that it happened. That bomb is the judgment of Jesus Christ against mankind for denying he returned.
Okay.
And he said television. That's what it is.
We hear you on that. So let's get back to Don so we can get what he wants. Because Don is in the room tonight, guys. So let's have some respect, okay?
I'll shut my mic off. Thanks for
you're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
You're good, Lawrence. Thank you for your introspective. My words are leaving me tonight. So,
I think it's good stuff.
Nivik, hang on.
I'd like to move on a little bit, and let's try to focus on the Gulf of America. How does that sound to everyone? Is anyone think that world maps will be reprinted tomorrow? Is GPS going to change? Do I need to plan my next princess vacation in the Gulf of America? What do you guys think? CJ, tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, the fact that he is so concerned that it's called the Gulf of Mexico and not the Gulf of America is just like, it's so stupid. Like, what is he going to do? Is he going to start calling Utah and Wyoming different names because they're not quote unquote American names. Like, it's just so dumb. Like,
Yeah.
I,
He fixates on
Map
these
of
things.
America. Why?
He fixates on these little things like that. I don't know why.
It's descriptive. Like, Mexico is right next to it. Mexico has a huge coastline with it. I'm not sure which one has more of a coast, Mexico or U.S. with the Gulf of Mexico, but like it's just dumb. Like, it's just another stupid thing that Trump said because he can go on a podium and go, "I'm gonna make the Gulf of Mexico oil again. I'm gonna start another oil spill." Like, it doesn't matter what we call it. It's just stupid either way.
Yeah, I feel you. I thought they, hang on one sec. I thought they were the traditionalists who didn't want to change things. You know, like the GOP has always been this monolith that doesn't, that wants to stick to tradition. What's more traditional than calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Mexico for like however long it's been named that?
I never believed that.
Believe what?
That they really change. It's only if it doesn't if it doesn't suit, then if the change suits, if not changing is suitable, then would be pro not changing. But if it is
having your cake and eating it too is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't really believe the non-interventionist talk either. I just thought that a lot. I thought like not wanting. They always said that the battle was within, so they got to first deal with within. So I didn't think like they were anti-war. I think they saw the battle to be held in the U.S. and that's a priority. I hate to say it like that, but it's kind of like first you're gonna have to deal with those within and see in power, and then you could go outside and impose your crusade, I guess, or your manifest destiny. I don't know, something like that.
I got what
it looks like they're colonizing the Gulf of Mexico by renaming it America instead of being called the Gulf of Mexico.
That's true.
Down with Matt. I'd like to hear what you think. It's come to my attention you'd like to have something to say about this matter, so please, down with Matt, unmute yourself.
So yeah, I'm coming into the conversation just a little bit fresh. I'm not quite sure. So where is this Gulf of America or Mexico? Or like what? I'm not sure where that. Is that something that Trump had said specifically?
He wants to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that up. After that, I can tap in here and there. I just didn't know how everything worked.
Oh, you're good. We're mainly just talking about like Trump, what he's going to do, his ideas on tariffs, his ideas on annexation, like with Canada, shit like that,
For those wondering, rough numbers, America has about 1,700 miles of the Gulf of Mexico coastline, and then Mexico has about 2,000 miles of the Gulf of Mexico coastline.
So possession is 9/10 of the law. There we go.
Billy, the kid is unmuted. What have you got to say, Billy?
Yeah, what's up, Billy?
Well, I looked earlier and I seen where Marjorie Taylor Greene said that she was going to introduce a bill to change the name to the Gulf of America.
Well,
so by what power does the United States House of Representatives have to change the name of a large body of water? That's the question.
I don't know.
I can't think of a single article in the Constitution.
I think all she can do is change like how the U.S. government officially recognizes it. Like, she obviously can't make anyone else. It's like China not recognizing Taiwan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever it's called. But
Chinese is what they try to call it.
It's
I do know Keith has an
pointless
input on the
power play.
Gulf here.
So I do want to say one of the key differences though with Taiwan is it hasn't been internationally recognized. As for the Gulf of Mexico, it's been internationally recognized for a very long time. So,
Right. What were you
Can we
saying?
have
Don?
conversation on why he's doing it?
One second.
Well, I
Did you-
don't see a pragmatic reason. Actually, I was going to answer Nivek's question right before he asked it. I don't see a pragmatic reason for changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
So there's no reason.
It won't mean that we can put toll bridges up there for passenger ships and for other ships, factory ships for fishing to pay a toll to pass through. We won't be able to blockade it. We won't be able to tax it. Nobody lives in the Gulf of Mexico unless that's where SpongeBob lives, and nobody's told me. So yeah, there's no pragmatic reason, no practical reason, and we won't see any benefit.
I didn't ask you.
But it will make the U.S. look like assholes on the world stage.
I'm asking you guys why you think he is doing that, not that it makes sense.
Why is
My
he doing it?
personal
Like
opinion-
psychologically, Nivek?
Yeah, it's grandstanding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a power. It's a
The
power.
myth of American exceptionalism, because us in America have been kicked out of the best countries in the world, and that makes us the best country in the world.
Let's let
You
Alex
telling-
get in then Scott. Alex and
Are you-
Scott.
Yeah. Okay. Are you telling me that the man who literally puts his name in giant bold letters, caps locked on everything that he ever touches, would also want to change the name of something, at least for a few years, so that he is like time stamping himself onto all maps and globes made in America? I'd be so surprised if that was his intention behind this. Just to get more of his name out there, I wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of the only thing that went through his head in that moment.
I think it's expansionism.
Wait. We promised Scott.
yeah, I mean, if you've ever read Art of the Deal, this sort of goes right down that road. So basically, there's this notion of you come into a negotiation with another group and you just start making outlandish claims that are far beyond what you actually want. The reason that you're doing this is once those claims get worked back and you get to where you want, that's the outcome that you wanted. But you start by going so far out left field. The problem is that might work in business. With a government, it's not going to work, because governments, people are just going to look at you and be like, oh no, we can't trust what this person says over, like, right? It just becomes like a self, feedback loop of failure.
Mm-hmm. Heath, did you have something to say? You're unmuted there.
Yeah, hey, so sorry, I've just been kind of sitting and listening. But I did have a statement / question, or, maybe a theory to like throw out to everybody else. So how Biden he recently made rules and laws that's going to make it hard to drill oil off of the Gulf of Mexico. My theory is that Trump wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America so that, in some crazy, weird way, he can say, hey, all of those laws that you just made apply to the Gulf of Mexico. They don't apply to the Gulf of America. Completely different thing. I don't know what you guys think about that, or if that sounds like possible or that kind of thing.
Let's let CJ,
that's actually a good point.
That's
CJ, then Matt, okay? Oh, CJ's done. So, Matt, go ahead, and then Scott. Matt, did you have something to say?
Sorry about that. No, I was trying to set up my push to talk button. Sorry.
Oh, okay, you're fine. You're fine, buddy. Go ahead, Scott.
I do want to say, if you look at what was passed, though, or what with the thing with Biden that was talking about coastal drilling, that was still within American waters, from my understanding, not international waters, which the Gulf of Mexico would be.
Right. I think Keith brought up a very interesting point. It does definitely fit with the personality of someone who would brand casinos, Bibles, steaks, a university, hotels, and office buildings around the world with his own name, that changing the name to the Gulf of America, then he could say, well, all laws and agreements pointing to the Gulf of Mexico are now null and void because I said so.
He's worried about that legacy.
I think that might be giving Trump way too much credit. That's all I'm going to say.
Maybe he's
Well, I think like we're talking about we're talking about, oh, you know, legally it won't do this, legally it won't do that. I mean, if there's any person that we're talking about politically that doesn't seem to care about what can happen legally, as long as he can somehow justify it in court and get it, you know, ruled on his side, it's going to be Trump. I mean, he's done this already, gone to the Supreme Court and gotten let off with crazy stuff. You think that, I mean, I think it's probably a really stupid thing, but if he is doing this to like Mexico into the hands of America and do the annexation, which it's not like he never asked for annexation because he already said that he wanted to annex two countries. It's not crazy that he would annex this body of water too and use this as justification.
Yeah, and Keith, what Keith said might actually have a bit of truth to it. Not a bit of truth, but could be true. Also, let's go around the room. Matt, are you ready to speak now?
Yep. I was gonna say that let's be honest, the legality, the U.S. doesn't care about the legality as far as the U.S. is concerned. That we run the world. The U.S. projects itself onto the world, so I don't think that the legal, the legality is really the question.
It's manifest destiny colonialism. You can't have an inferior country like having that name. You have to. It's that same type of supremacist manifest destiny colonial mindset. That's all that is, and that he's giving to his base. They love the idea of that place being named America instead of this backwards crap hole. No offense, Mexicans, but Mexico, and that's why I asked Lawrence, and that's why I asked.
Don't get louder, Nivek, please. Just for a moment,
Lawrence.
let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question, please. Do you think Trump is doing it for godly reasons?
Okay, that's why I asked Lawrence, and that's why I asked Billy. If you think that's justified in doing that in godly reasons, and they plead the fifth, and I think it is.
Trump does things for one reason and one reason only: money.
Anyone disagree?
But he does things for his base, right?
He does things for money.
It's not just him, but he answers to his base. So I'm saying there are people who do believe that, and he has to give them what they want. That's why I was asking you and Billy, because you're of his base, if if that's what you want, and the answer is yes, that is what you want, and Trump's just giving you guys what you want.
Does manifest destiny have anything to do with Trump? 1 second, and then I'll let you go, Lawrence. Does manifest destiny have anything to do with directly Trump because it's a religious thing?
I'm saying the base, who elects him. It's not just he's not a king, and he's a representative, and what people want to hear and what they want him to do, he has to do. He might think like, well, that's crazy, but if this is something that is liked and desired, then I'll do it because they voted me in office.
Okay, go ahead, Lawrence.
Jesus isn't really happy that China's going to overthrow the United States. It doesn't make him happy. What Jesus is going to do to that Chinese Navy on California is remove the state of California.
Same with Gulf of Mexico?
He's going to remove... it's possible he's also going to remove Florida. He's going to remove California on lava. In Scripture, it's called the blood of the earth. That's what the blood of the earth is lava. Everyone in California is going to be just lunatics. They're all going to take the mark of Satan for the money. Jesus is going to his patience will be done with that. And he is going
He's renaming it the Gulf of America, God's will.
There's not going to be a California. He's going to remove the whole state, the land, every bit of it, and everyone that's on it, every man, woman, and child.
I'm asking a question. On it. He's renaming it the Gulf of America, something Jesus would want.
He's going to take out the Chinese Navy military that same day.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
He's renaming it the Gulf of America, something that Jesus would want.
Okay, all right. Let's go back. Let's go back on subject.
That's probably consequential.
Okay, 1 second, Lawrence. We're going to let Don control the room, and then we'll see what he wants to do. Go ahead, Don.
So I'm kind of getting the feeling that nobody can see any really good reason to rename the Gulf of Mexico, and that we
Jesus wants it.
Hang on.
We all tend to agree that forcing another sovereign nation to become part of America against that nation's will is not a good thing. We also seem to agree that tariffs are going to be probably pretty terrible for the country. We've got a couple of new people in here that I haven't heard from yet. I'd like to know if Kyle maybe has anything to say, or Chase, if you have any ideas on what you've heard so far tonight.
I think maybe Keith wants to say something as well. I'm not sure if Keith has gotten a piece of the action yet tonight, but I see he unmuted.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
So if you could throw him in the lineup.
Yeah,
sure.
Thanks, guys. I did. So I don't. And this is kind of off topic. Actually, I'll save that question for later. But yeah, no. I mean, I guess just as far as annexation, especially like forceful annexation, I think it's like while I'm sure we could theoretically come up with reasons why it would technically be good for the country, like gaining resources. Gaining more land to like inhabit, that kind of thing. I mean, obviously, that's not going to be good for the people that are already living there. So, I'm definitely like against annexation for sure. And then, same thing with tariffs. Although here's a question. So, with tariffs, and again, I'm against it. So I'm kind of trying to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, even against myself. I'm trying to think of I guess tariffs would, most likely still push production to come to the United States. And, maybe ultimately, I don't know, could we be seeing that as a good thing? Like, I don't know, we tariff other countries so hard that we start mass producing these products that we're tariffing in the United States. And then, now we become a producer of these products. I'm kind of riffing, but I guess I'm trying to see if there's any possible good that could come from either of these two things, just to like kind of spice up the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Don, did you want
The only issue that I see with that is say that we raise tariffs on imported manufactured goods. And that's going to bring the factories back to America. That is a true statement. That's exactly what would happen. But then the countries that we import the raw materials from for those manufactured goods and impose tariffs on America for those raw materials. And so the cost of the raw material goes up. If the cost of the raw material goes off, the cost of the finished product will also rise, and by a much higher percentage. And in the end, why it may be good and create more jobs by bringing manufacturing back to this country, it would be bad because all those jobs would be creating products that we couldn't afford to buy.
I think you got to also look at so why did the jobs exactly leave the U.S. to begin with? Well, because of corporations trying to find, exporting and basically exporting our jobs for cheaper markets. Like when you have the tariffs, what you're doing really is protecting a domestic industry. But if we don't have that industry to begin with, which for most part, a lot of our industries have fled, then really we're just self-imposing economic damage to ourselves.
That's correct. That's the way I see it.
I mean, we'd have to create buildings, large scale, to reproduce the same amount of material that we are people want shirts and pants and all of the things that we're importing from like China and other places. So we'd have to, like, the logistics of that is like making all of these new buildings and setting all that stuff up. Then, and it's just incredibly unfortunate, it's essentially slave labor over there. And so we're paying pennies for those things. And now we're going to have to pay like $16 expensive in general.
I want to say something. There's someone in the YouTube chat said, if you're against tariffs, you're for child slavery. Like, kind of to Alex's point that, a lot of these foreign products that are really cheap are made from underpaid labor or, labor that is treated poorly. If you make it so that those companies that are selling us cheap stuff and are trying to get their margins as cheap as possible, if you make it so that they have to pay more or that we have to pay more to get their products, they're not going to go, oh, well, it's more expensive for those guys. So you know what we should do? We should start paying our employees more. No, they're going to make the product even cheaper. They're going to cut even more corners. It's a ridiculous proposition. And if you really care about stopping people being victimized by labor conditions overseas, then what you should do, the proper thing to do, is to make it so that you can only import stuff into the US that is made under fair labor laws. That's the only thing. If you want to add a tariff to that too, go ahead. And one thing, like, people are talking about, oh, the food's going to get more expensive, the products are going to get more expensive. I don't care how expensive things are getting, as long as the price is worth what we're paying for. And if my clothes go up 3 times, my food goes up 3 times, but I'm not living off of slave labor anymore, yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Plus, you can always tax the billionaires to make all that stuff more affordable. Tax the giant.
Yeah, that's what I would like to do.
Yes, absolutely. Believe this way: the billionaires in this country, and even the multimillionaires in this country, which I found out recently, we have quite a few.
Yeah, wasn't it like 5 or 6 million people above $5 million?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're getting a little bit of feedback from Kyle. Kyle, did you have something to say? Okay. Looks like that was a mishap there. So go ahead, Don.
All right. So we've got the Gulf of America. I think we're all down on that. I think we have talked. Any new information? If you do, go ahead and unmute and let us hear your thoughts.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and open up. Nevik, you're good to go if you need to say anything, or anybody else. Keith, Chase, Lawrence, Alex. I think Don has pretty much covered most of what. Am I right in saying that, Don? You've covered pretty much everything you wanted to talk about?
Pretty much, but I've just had an interesting thought. So let's turn this situation around. I believe most of us in here are Americans, if not all of us. So what are your thoughts if the Prime Minister of Great Britain said it's time to take our colonies back? How would that make you feel as an American? Anyone?
Well, I know.
Do they have healthcare?
Globalist.
Do we get universal healthcare?
Yeah, I think we could all be bought with some good healthcare, right?
It's potential, yeah.
Well, I don't know though, because I don't think weed is legal out in England.
Well, they might.
And that's not cool.
I agree.
But they would have to absorb like some norms and laws that we have, though, when we reincorporate.
Yeah, we all know that the British classically do that whenever they take anyone back or over.
Well, I mean, classically, like if we're going back to like the 1400s, yeah,
they're very lenient tyrants. Yeah.
Yep.
Because there's legal weed in Canada, right? That's a part of the Commonwealth. Yeah, there you go.
You know what? That's good. Let's annex Canada. I want their free healthcare and I want their weed.
No. That's become part of the Commonwealth, is what everybody's saying. And then we get free health care. We can we still have weed, but we got health care now.
You know what? How about this? How about this, Scott? Canada annexes us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So to answer my own question, I feel like, and I'm not the most patriotic fella. I wouldn't like that. I don't want to be a British subject again. I don't want to view the leader of my country as someone who was ordained by a supernatural being that nobody can prove even exists to rule me. I don't want to be ruled. I want to be led. And I don't feel like Trump is a leader, but desperately wants to rule. Does anyone see it different? Does anyone agree? I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Don,
agree with that to a degree.
I would say, Don, like, I think the biggest thing, I don't think any group of people would want another group of people coming in from the outside and just like by writ large taking over. Like whether it's, a king, like say England didn't have a king and that part of it you didn't have to worry about. You'd still be uncomfortable with somebody coming over and taking part of your area, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I will say that the Green Party leader of Canada, Elizabeth May, did say that she would happily welcome us into Canada as the 11th province. Washington, it's Washington, Oregon, and California.
Oh, damn it!
Yeah, I want to hear one good word to say about Trump, so I would rather not say anything. Other than I get physically ill when I hear his voice.
Oh, I get it. I understand.
Understandable. So, Happy, you unmuted just a minute ago. Did you have something you'd like to add?
Not terribly much. I think I'll just probably lurk tonight. I'm fairly new to the Travis Pangburn channels and stuff, other than just enjoying YouTube. I've been watching since like 2018 when Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson did their whole thing for a few months. So
that's great to hear. Welcome and thanks for your viewership. While we're on that subject, everybody on YouTube, go ahead and drop a like, consider subscribing, and click the link to join the discussion here on Discord if you're so inclined.
Yeah, we'll keep it going. There are other things to talk about when it comes to Trump, I'm sure. Don, go ahead, man. If you had any, or what's that?
I was going to say that I found his phrasing of the word like leader or led versus what did he say? Led versus ruled. Fascinating, and I guess I've never really thought about those two words. Usually they're used synonymously, but yes, there's a difference there. And I guess I have a question is, why is it does everybody think that we haven't, as people or as humans, outgrown this idea of nation states? Like it's a 17th century, or not even, probably even from longer than that, 17th century idea still with us with the 21st century. Like it feels to me like we are just stuck.
I will jump in actually. This is a weird thing to say because I've only thought about this a few times, but I remember when watching Jordan Peterson talk about religion, he definitely had a lot to say about how humanity in general is stupid. Like we have a limited space of being able to intelligently, come up with solutions to problems. And it's taken us a long time to get to where we are. Nation states are another form of tribalism, another form of, their nationalism is tribalism, but they are similar to religion in the way that we feel. Like, I grew up in the U.S. I've been in the U.S. most of my life, and I definitely feel a deep connection to the cultural affixes that I grew accustomed to growing up, and I feel that nationalism is actually a part of who I am, even though I don't necessarily agree with who our president is right now, or who is going to become our president right now. I feel that, nationalism is a core piece of how we develop culturally. And so many people get attached to that. And I am a globalist in general. I'm like a humanist. I want people to create better global connections. I want the idealism that Sam Harris sells in terms of, look, we can create a better world based on well-being, not on religion and superstitious belief. But I think nationalism falls into that same category as religion at this point in human culture.
Yeah. Would you see nationalism as like overly patriotic, or do you kind of use those terms synonymously?
I think that, in the U.S., yes, but obviously every nation's got its own nationalism. I do think that being a patriot, being somebody who is pro-U.S. and that culture is definitely a nationalist for the U.S., but I guess not synonymous, just because they draw their boundaries at different categories,
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's always like nationalist seems to be like this dirty word, patriotism, not a dirty word, nationalism, a dirty word, but,
And I mean, patriotism is a dirty word if you are a jihadist ISIS member, or you're somebody who just hates the U.S. for certain reasons, There's lots of different reasons for people to draw those different lines culturally.
Nationalism is typically referred to as like being, patriotic for your country, but the caveat in the definition is usually at the detriment of others, or, being so for your country that you're putting others below you. I think that's kind of like when people use it in a derogatory way, that's what they mean.
Yeah.
Patriotic it's a U.S. word because patriots are a U.S. or originating, population. And so to say that patriotism is something that categorizes nationalism is specifically a U.S. definition. So I think globally, if you're going to define, what nationalism is, you can't really use the word patriotism. But I understand what you're saying.
So my understanding from what you're saying is that it's it boils down to both cultural, but it's a part of identity, essentially.
I see. I found. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. I found the definition real quick. I had to look for it for a second. It says patriotism encompasses, this is off of theconversation.com. Patriotism encompasses devotion to the country as a whole, including all the people who live within it. Nationalism refers to devotion to only one group of people over all others. So let me see if I can corroborate that information.
Get yourselves a Chinese Phrases for Shoppers books, fellas, to help with your spending spree.
Will do. Thank you, Lawrence.
What?
I'm confused on that one, but I like it.
Yeah, that one.
You're going to need to learn to speak some Chinese on your shopping sprees, fellas.
So if it's a part of identity,
Chinese phrase,
need to bump some teeth.
So if it is an understanding of identity, I feel like identity is something that, for the is personal. It's something that we create each for ourselves, and that a lot of people have a lot of different elements of their identity. Why don't you think that we as people or as humans haven't adopted or why do we struggle to create a new form of identity that is global in nature, a global tribal, a global, if you will?
Yeah, an in-group as large as we can possibly make it, right? Yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah,
you brought
where
that up. There's something interesting actually happening in the text chat next to us here. And Scott has brought up that it sounds like everybody is a globalist now, whereas in the past that has been looked on with scorn and disdain. Do you think that Trump is actually showing globalist colors with these broad declarations of the Gulf of America and Canada as the 51st state? Or is it mental illness, or is it just old age? Is it dementia? What are we dealing with?
Is it a man who would like to be one nation under Trump?
Exactly.
Just for the whole planet.
I never believed that they were anti-globalists. Just in a way that didn't suit them is when they're anti-globalists. So if they could rule the world under Trump, yes, they'll be pro-globalist.
It's definitely
like how the British Empire was pro-globalist.
Yeah, but here's the problem though. Like the entire idea of globalist is just this weird canard that's in the zeitgeist that we use right now, right? So things went from being city states then being countries, and you have a bunch of different cities in the countries, and then you have continents, and then you have the EU, and then you have, the United States of America. We have multiple states within this one solidified group, right? It's just a natural progression of the way things are going. Like if somebody really thinks in like 2,000 years we aren't going to have like a single world culture, like of not even necessarily government but culture, I think you're missing the point. Like,
well, we already do. We're literally sitting inside of the world culture right now on Discord.
We're getting close. We're getting close. I don't think we're there yet.
We're a baby culture.
Yeah.
In our infancy.
I think the right is not anti-globalist. Like the British Empire wasn't anti-globalist, right?
But it's a difference between. So the right is globalism, of course, it just destroys all boundaries. It says, look, we're all working together as a team, the entire world. And so when you get to the far right, though, they do tend to use identity politics to favor one group. And in the far left, you've got just vegans. We're including animals in what we want to protect and make sure that has the best well-being. And so the difference there is so massive where we're drawing these boundaries where we say, okay, this is where we want to stop trying to improve living well-being.
I agree. I think you're onto something there, and I think that what it is really, it's less about the in groups and it's more about who's in the out group that is really kind of the driving factor of where this divide is. And I think that that's the reason why Trump, for instance, or the MAGA base, really, they see all of our out group and our identities are arbitrary at best. So you see that there are sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I'll come back.
I would like to talk about the identity section of your question.
Globalist. Manifest Destiny is not anti-globalism.
Hang on a second.
Hold on.
Okay, let's.
Hang on a second, Nibik, please.
Okay, I think we had Scott.
Yeah, I know exactly where Matt's going. It's the idea of having a shared enemy. Even though you might not all agree on the thing, as long as you have a shared enemy, that will galvanize people to behave in a certain way.
Yes, exactly. That was the ultimate point I wanted to get behind, and that the almost what we need to do as a civilization is we need to realize that this is a cooperative PvE game that we are playing right now, and we need to realize that we're losing. Frankly, we are terribly losing.
Yeah. Let Alex get in here real
Yeah,
quick, and I just want to say really quick, I want to make our in group as big as possible. Go ahead, Alex.
Yes, and I would love to make our in group as big as possible if our brains weren't dumb sometimes and incapable of remembering more than like 200 faces. Well, names. We can remember like 1,000 faces, which is which makes it really difficult for us to create very large tribes.
After you're done, Alex, I'd like to get Scott's opinion, and then we can go to Nivik and move around the room. So go ahead.
Fantastic. No, I have to go after this actually. So I will say that I would love it if we could move to a world culture. I would love it if we could all just be like one thing united together as Earth. It is very like creating identity is very difficult for like changing identity is very, very difficult for a lot of people because it requires nuance and it requires self-identification, and it be the most terrifying thing in the world to have to sit down and look at yourself in the mirror and go, where did this come from? Did I actually decide to make this thing myself? What is my epistemological reasoning behind this thing? Oh, wait, I don't have any. And that can feel really gross. It can make a person feel stupid. It can make a person feel shameful or guilty on things. And that kind of stuff can drive people to double and triple and quadruple down on the identity that was handed to them. It was much easier that way. So this one would have to be like a decision, and people hate making decisions because if you make the bad one, then you're a fucking loser, and that's awful. And we're very much a win-lose culture.
It is. I agree.
Shit. We were placing bets during the election like it was a game that didn't have major consequences.
I know. Scott, did you want to chime in?
Oh no, I'm good.
Oh, I thought you were wanting to say something after Alex was done. Okay, Nivik, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think that the right is anti-globalist. Manifest that the way they're talking doesn't sound like it. Trump was always talking about like he's against intervening. He's an anti-interventionist. Now he's talking about bagging Greenland and bagging Canada and renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound like a person. It's not. I mean, like it sounds like he sounds like an expansionist. It sounds like that. Manifest Destiny is not. Manifest Destiny is globalism. It's not opposite of that.
I think he wants a legacy. Nivik, what do you think about that?
I think he is a globalist, but in his terms.
So driven by ego, then.
Yeah, I think the globalism. Sorry to jump in. I think the globalism here is different from your perspective because I think that Thomas, you made a good point there, saying that he wants to leave a legacy. Like,
yeah,
this is the end of his life potentially. He's been elected a second time, and he's got a lot of political motivations, a lot of relationships with various people that he can do something here and maybe leave something behind that matters because got his first presidency, he sold a lot of stories and he sounded like every politician that failed to deliver on them. So see what he can do now, you know?
I think you're right. CJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump and probably conservatives in general, like they say, oh, I'm anti-globalist, or I don't think we should be, giving out to all these other nations. But I think they're only anti-globalist insofar as like, oh, I don't want to spend my money to Haiti. Oh, I don't want to, spend all this money on Ukraine or NATO to go help these countries in Europe. Like, what are they doing for us? We don't need to give them money. But they don't seem to mind when we coup a government to quote unquote install democracy. They don't seem to care about being globalist when we're threatening to intervene in Panama again, or when we're threatening to, or not just threatening, but going into the Middle East for the umpteenth time. Like, they like to pretend that they're anti-interventionist. They like to pretend that they aren't doing these things, or maybe there's something going on where they don't realize that. I'm only anti-interventionist insofar as I'm okay with doing this here if it improves my GDP profits in the US. It's it's pretty plain and obvious that conservatives will be capitalists, or sorry, not capitalists.
Nationalists?
They will be globalists.
Globalists, okay.
If it makes them money.
Yeah. So are you talking about like the average GOP person or the average conservative person? Or are we talking about like Christian nationalists? You know what I mean?
I would say like the average like GOP, like the mainstream conservative party is pushing this stuff out. And your average conservative person that you meet on the street probably doesn't realize that the reason that they have these conflicting views, or they might not even realize the views are conflicting, but the reason they have these views is because somebody is making a GDP profit, calculation somewhere on why we should have this policy over here. They're just seeing it as, this is good for money, or on the other side, we shouldn't be, intervening if it doesn't help us. At the end of the day, whether they realize it or not, it seems to just be that, we won't intervene unless it makes us more money, and then we must intervene.
Correct.
Trump does not love you.
I'd love there are so many people. Tell me more about how anti-globalist you are as you continue to vote to increase our military budget for our 200 plus military bases around the world.
I don't know why people buy that crap.
Well, Niv, it's the same reason why people believe that Jordan Peterson is not a postmodernist, right? Because he rails against postmodernism, but he's a postmodernist himself, right? Like people they're not thinking through these things.
I think that people are anti-globalist if there's any type of influences.
That's what Matt just said. That's what Matt just said.
Yes.
From other countries.
That's what Matt just said. Yeah.
You got to listen, bud.
That's what
it's all good though.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, that is what Matt was saying though.
I think we got to define globalism better because, from what I understand, globalism is obviously trying to unite everybody on the globe, everybody on Earth under one banner, in a way that, and I think the line gets blurry once you decide to say, like, okay, in this global economy, this global world of globalism where we're trying to create it, what is the equality of opportunity? What are the things that, we care about politically that we want to apply in a global world? Like, where we're no longer drawing the lines between countries and states. We're saying, okay, planet Earth is what we're trying to make better. Like, what does that mean? Do we, because obviously you're saying Trump on the far right, who has created MAGA and who's created identity politics to an extreme, almost to the level of, I wouldn't say Nazism, but there's a very strong white male lean in the white side in the right side, excuse me, for just globalism under that banner. But I don't think that's what globalism is. I think globalism is looking at the whole picture a bit differently.
You're not going to like it when it comes. You're not going to like it one bit.
CJ, your name's Matt.
Here.
And I'm not saying globalism is easy. I'm not saying that trying to make equivalence of opportunity easy a thing is going to be something that humanity can just, flip switch. I'm saying that it's difficult, but it is something I advocate for.
Guys, I got to go. If you don't want to listen to me, know this. At the end of the 7 years of hell, the only ones that are going to be alive, unharmed, fed, and happy are going to be me and 144,000 young children. So to me, all you're talking about is going to be gone and never spoken of again. So,
why are you just I have a question of Lawrence. Why are you just going to be with children? What? That was the fucking weirdest thing I've ever heard.
That was so maybe.
Who's Matt?
Lawrence, before you head out, DM me. I think I've got a cool opportunity for you, man.
Lawrence, if you want to finish, we're listening to you, bud.
look, if you want to stop the hell that's going to come on to you, there's only one way to do it. Only one way. And it's to do what they did in Nineveh that Jonah taught them. It's to do what the apostles spoke on the first day of Pentecost. It's to say to somebody, your neighbor, your friend, your family, your girlfriend, your kids, I failed Jesus by not believing in his forgiveness. He showed me a foot. He showed me a foot that got cut off and didn't bleed in a vision. He showed me palm trees that mean I failed by not getting involved. A moon that means I fail by blaming and accusing. A square pit that means I fail by not reading the Bible every day. You tell that, there won't be a hell.
I read too much of the Bible. That's why I'm no longer Christian.
Well, enjoy your One World Omnibar and enjoy trying to find some food to buy with your $32,000. You won't find it.
Thank you for your input tonight, Lawrence.
At the end of the 7 years, the only ones that are going to be standing alive, unharmed, happy, and fed without being branded are going to be me and 144,000 children.
Well, ain't you the lucky one? I just don't appreciate the threats of hellfire, man. Like take it somewhere
He's
else.
spending his time well.
Did I say maybe?
I find it entertaining because I love religious illusion. It's my favorite thing. It's so funny to hear.
It's your fate. Tough shit, Sherlock.
Indeed.
I want to say, Lawrence, this would be a really good conversation to have either off air or some other time on live if Travis thinks it's interesting.
We don't mind hearing the opinions as long as everyone keeps it to a good faith and helpful discourse as we are right now. I do agree with Scott that the 144,000 children thing is I don't know how you would know that. I don't know how you could know that. So
it's very unique, yeah.
I believe he's...
If I told you I'm the Pope, would you believe me?
Sure.
No.
Thomas, I'm pretty sure he's referring to Revelation that says 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. And by children, I think he means children of God, not actual like children.
Is that what you mean?
Am I right,
Is that
Lawrence?
what you mean?
No.
Is that what you mean, Lawrence? What CJ just said?
Young children who never watch TV. No adults.
Okay.
So actual children.
Gave him an off ramp, and he decided, nope, I'm doubling down.
So let me ask: are you talking about actual children, Lawrence, like young children?
Yes, none adults, all children.
Adults, but you'll be there.
I am in Scripture. There's a lamb that's there while the 12 tribes go through the valley of Armageddon. I'm the one that gathers them and takes them there.
Well, Lawrence,
rye,
Lawrence, I just don't believe you.
I know you don't.
That's a hard one.
There's no reason to not believe him. I mean, this is. It's where subjectivity and objectivity intersect. It's when religious illusions go far enough, you can actually just fall into that, and I love that. I think that's a beautiful and interesting part of human psychology. I think it's very dangerous and gross at the same time, but it's fun to see it happen accidentally and just all of the mistakes that can follow.
Well, we're all gross in one way or another.
I don't think you realize just how much you pissed God off by denying He told you to tell the vision. I don't think you quite get it yet. So,
that's all right. That's all right. I am more powerful and more moral than God, which we will discuss in the next episode.
We all are.
But everyone, thank you so much for tuning in and contributing today. Thanks very much to Dawn. This was Dawn's first show on the Pangburn Network, and I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn, and thanks for backing him up, Tommy boy. But everyone who's new to the Discord server, we have all these off-air voice channels which we hang out when we're not live, so please feel free to use them. We all typically go down to the tavern after our live shows. Everyone on YouTube, please come and join us on Discord. It is free to join, and we just have a conversation community here that's grounded in good faith, helpful discourse. So if you do join us, you just got to be sincere with your intentions and try to be as helpful as you can be. And that's what we're all about here. So thank you all for joining us today. And the next episode, we'll go back to debating about God again.
Well, thank you for letting me bring at least the half of mine that I still have in the pit as I peer into my brain looking for an answer.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thomas, Travis, and